Inferences. What is inferring? Inferring is an educated guess or conclusion based upon observable details within a text. Usually when we are inferring or making inferences, we use our intuition and experiences to create an interpretation of what we think is happening. And this interpretation must be logical and realistic. It just can't be a wild guess. And as readers, we infer. When we infer, we are basically trying to make a conclusion about the text by using the clues because the author is not directly stating the idea. So we infer every day. We just don't know that we're actually doing it. We are going to practice making inferences with pictures before we start making inferences within a text. Looking at this picture, what do you think is happening in this picture? Before you infer what is happening, you naturally look for clues. Right away, you see some cots, but you are probably thrown off because of the elaborate details of the room. There is a chandelier, the room has elegant moldings. Students in some of my other classes have inferred that this could be an orphanage. Others have inferred that this is an emergency location for displaced people during a natural disaster. So what is really happening in this picture? Well, in this picture, you have the Senator Charles Schumer walking through a room full of cots on his way to the Senate floor where an all-night session was being held in July. Now, let's look at this picture. What do you think is happening? Right away, you will notice the Elmo chicken dolls. You also notice there is someone in a lab coat with a clipboard. Most of you are inferring that they are testing the dolls. While you are correct, what do you think they are specifically testing? This is where it gets tricky. Now, if any of you noticed, the walls of this room is unique, and it gives you a hint to what they are specifically testing. These are soundproof walls, and because these are soundproof walls, then we now know what is actually happening. Technicians tested the sound quality of the chicken dance Elmo dolls at a Mattel lab in China. Industry analysts said the company could be considered a role model for operating prudently in China. This picture is a good example of how background and prior knowledge becomes useful when making inferences. If you have been in a soundproof room before, right away you knew what they were doing with these dolls. However, if you've never been in a soundproof room before, you wouldn't have been able to conclude that they were testing for sound. So when making inferences, your prior knowledge and your background knowledge can be helpful so you can draw the correct conclusion. In this slide, I'm going to show you how you are going to do part of your assignment for making inferences. In one section of your assignment, I am going to give you 5 different pictures, and you are going to need to do 2 things. You are going to need to infer what is happening in the picture, and then after you make an inference, remember your inference is what you think is happening, then you need to tell me what evidence from the picture supports your inference. So when I look at this picture, I see some people, it looks like they're in a gym, and I see some mats, okay? So let's say that my inference, I'm going to use the sentence stem, I infer that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to complete the sentence and state what I think is happening. So I infer that people are stretching, okay? And how do I know that? So my second sentence stem would say, I know this because, might state, I noticed they are in a gym and they are using floor mats. Now, are they really stretching? Well, we don't know. We're just making an inference. So this is sort of my guess, my educated guess. And I made this guess because, again, I know this because I know they're in a gym. I see the lines in markings on the floor, and then they're using floor mats. So when you make an inference, it doesn't always mean that you are correct. You're just telling me what you think is happening, but it has to be logical based on your evidence, okay? So what's really happening in this picture? Well, I'll tell you, okay? They're really not stretching. What they're actually doing is these are elderly people, and yes, they are in the gym, but they're actually practicing how to fall safely so they don't hurt themselves. And so that's really what's happening. But remember, when we make inferences, we are just trying to take a guess based on the evidence that we see. Okay, so when you do your assignment, that's what you're going to do. You're going to make an inference based on what you think is happening in the picture, and then you're going to tell me what evidence from the text supports your inference.